I know Dr. Pierce is going to have a lot to say about this player. One, Aidan Hutchinson, Detroit Lion, University of Michigan Go Blue legend. He had an updated tape. I remember the first one that was released when he was running. There was a lot of people like, okay, all right, is there more? I think that this one provides a little bit more.
Absolutely. This is via Fox Sports, by the way.
Look at my man.
Look
at my man.
He's back.
He's back, yes.
How does it feel, Aidan? I was about to say, how does it feel, Aidan Hutchinson?
No.
How does it feel, Flannel Sam?
No, might as well call me Flannel.
He has a tear in his
He
eye
needs
right
paper
now.
towel. That's how it feels. He needs a paper towel, a wet one.
Where are your hands at, Flannel Sam?
Show your hands.
Show your hands. Dog.
No, but last season, obviously we know that it didn't end the way that the Lions wanted it to, but the subset, I don't want to say sports tragedy because that goes a little bit too far. Like, real sports tragedies are what happened to, like, Utley, for example.
Right,
somebody
right.
like that. But in a way, or even like a Ryan Shazier. But when we talk about what was robbed from Aidan last year, I think he would have been Defensive Player of the Year, especially when you factor in the numbers for other players you think were candidates. Trey Hendrickson obviously had a great year, but if Aidan Hutchinson would have had a healthy season, do we really think that they would have given Defensive Player of the Year to Patrick Surtain? No disrespect, Patrick Surtain is a damn good corner, the best in the league, but I think he would have gotten like at least an 18 sack season, 100 pressures, 25 TFLs, 40 hits, that type of year where you just saw his type of impact. He had 7.5 in 5 games. And it looks like right there, as I've suspected, and as I think anybody who really thinks about it has suspected, he's going to be fine. He's going to get a full offseason in terms of OTAs and training camp. It's not, even though it looked like one of the more gruesome injuries you'll see, it was a clean break. It wasn't knee ligaments or anything like that. You can come back from a broken leg pretty quickly. And as you see, quickly in relative terms, of course, but 6 months later and he's already sprinting. He already looks like he's about ready to get back onto that field. You love to see that, and you love to see the impact that he could make for this team.
Yeah, and I don't claim to be a doctor or any medical advice, but I do know that, Kay Cunningham and what he had done to his leg in terms of like the rod to help to strengthen it with those fractures. You talk about the repairs that they're doing to Aidan Hutchinson's leg, and just because I see people in the chat, Fancy Lion says, is he really back? I'm still worried. Modern medicine is amazing, first and foremost. Yeah. And when you kind of just look at what's happened with Cade Cunningham, I know it wasn't quite the same thing, but you're right. The clean break, it provided them an opportunity to really make sure they can really just bolster the leg and make sure they repair that and give Aidan Hutchinson an opportunity with the way that he works to rehab and build the muscle back around it and give himself an opportunity to go out there and perform at full strength. And it's really indicative of who he is as a worker.
Yeah.
Aidan Hutchinson, as soon as this thing was kind of happened, it felt like it was no time before we saw this man walking in a pool. And we were like, wait, this is just too quick. And he was going out there saying, if we make it to the Super Bowl, I'm trying to go. And so, when I look at his confidence throughout this whole thing, when I look at how he's working, when I don't see him wincing or any pain or anything like that, that's where I'm a lot more comfortable. And just kind of going back to Cade, who missed a whole season after the first 12 games, I remember when he started to come back, and there were a lot of people who were worried about, what he would be. And just you see like a certain confidence and a comfort in a player's face, and you realize when they've kind of hurdled that mental part of the injury and you don't see them wincing from any pain, they're largely going to be okay.
Yeah, and they were really having realistic conversations about this guy possibly playing some snaps in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So that told me automatically he was ahead of schedule. And, thankfully, he got the whole offseason to be able to just rest, recuperate, and focus on getting back for training camp this year. And so far, so good. I'm not necessarily worried about Hutch. He seems to, be putting weight on his leg. He looks like he's going to be having that same kind of form, man. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Of course, once he gets in pads and gets in that game, it's going to be different. Those mental thoughts will creep up. Can I do this? Am I able to put all this weight on this leg and go 100%? But once he gets past that initial phase, I'm pretty sure he'll be fine.
DNC said, get that man, I'm assuming that's flannel, get that man some Kleenex.
Right?
I mean, it's good to see. It really is. I mean, when you're talking about Aidan Hutchinson, any of our players, but just knowing the type of impact that he was having, and you alluded to it, you talked about it. And remember, as the season went on, weeks after, I remember at the midway point, at the trade deadline, they were putting up, the sack leaders, they were putting up, the defensive player of the year type races, and Aidan Hutchinson's numbers just continued to put him in all of those conversations, even at the end of the season. So when you're talking about who would have gotten a defensive player of the year, that was his. That award had his name already written on it, and if he didn't get injured, I thought that he was going to have an opportunity to have that thing wrapped up by week 10. It was just at an insane pace out of Aidan Hutchinson. It was just a different animal, and that's why I'm like, I just can't count that type of dog out. We've just seen him really power through and make that leap that we wanted to see, and that came from his sheer just how he worked out. And now we're looking at this guy in a rehab, opportunity to strengthen that leg. I just think he's going to hit the ground running this season. I really do.
Well, and you know how I am sometimes. I don't love it when people play too much into hypotheticals, but I'll do a brief one right now. Just a brief one. If you want to call me a hypocrite, go on ahead.
Hypocrite.
Aidan Hutchinson missed out on the Titans game, the Jaguars game, and 2 games against the Bears. We know that
12 sacks right there.
Caleb Williams was the most sacked.
That's factual.
Caleb Williams was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, but unfortunately, Aidan Hutchinson did not get a chance to play the Bears. I think he would have made Caleb Williams' life hell, and we all know what the situation was with the Titans and the Jaguars. That's another thing that was so unfortunate, because not only, obviously, you can't say that because he had 7.5 sacks in 5 games that he was going to already have 22.5 in 15 games. I'm not saying that at all. It's just that couple games against the Bears.
Surprised if it happened.
Well, that's the thing. If you factor in a couple games against the Bears, you've got the Titans, you've got the Jaguars. Would it have shocked you if Hutch played against the Bears and he had 4 sacks in those 2 games?
No.
That offensive line was shaky for the Bears, and it was often injured. And we all know Caleb Williams, one of his biggest Achilles heels is he holds onto the ball too long. And Aidan Hutchinson,
make a big play.
Absolutely, he is a relentless pursuer. He is a relentless with his effort. You would have definitely seen a couple of chase down sacks, and maybe a couple where he just blasted Caleb Williams from the blind side and forced a fumble. We'll
Especially see. If hypothetically they still go trade for Zadarius Smith. You just wonder how that would have looked with Hutch having the season that he was having. That would have been crazy.
Hey, Big Z, just take that 1 year cheapo deal. Come on back. Have some fun.
It's still in the works.
You like Detroit.
What we've heard.
Clearly, we've seen you having fun with Detroit.
Yeah.
And it's people here. So
I was going to say, though, when it comes to Zadarius Smith, I know we haven't talked about this much. Is Zadarius Smith scorned at all?
No, I don't think so.
I mean,
I think he understands the business, man. Like, he knew that contract was kind of effed up, that, Cleveland went out there and put on him. But I don't think it's any animosity. I think he understands. Now, will he come back to the team is still a question. I think he is fielding other offers probably, but I think he does like this situation here. He knows he does have a place here if Brad Holmes and the gang want him back. Yeah. So
I feel like maybe it's more or less one of those things where he can potentially get a multi-year where maybe the Lions window is not fitting to that.
Hey, we'll see. Knows? And a DNCENT, good reminder, could have sacked Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud a few times combined. C.J. Stroud was the second most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. And obviously they had Laramie Tunsil, but at the same time, just more opportunities that Aidan Hutchinson missed out on. But the Tigers, the Lions are going to need him this year to really show out and be at least an approximation of what he was at the beginning of last year. Because I think, and this isn't meant as a shot or anything, although I've been pretty consistent with how I feel. I think a heavy burden is going to be on him. But at the same time, he's a superstar, or at least a budding superstar. Sometimes you just got to deal with it.
I feel like Aidan Hutchinson just already puts that pressure on himself, and I believe that's why we saw him get off to the start that we did. I think he hears all of the noise, even if it's like unfounded, even if it's not necessarily the right type of noise to have about his pressures and wanting, he should have more sacks. And hey, look, if you have the critique that you want to see him improve and get better, sure. But there are people who are literally making certain cases that maybe he's not the guy. He's not an untouchable. That was kind of crazy when I heard that come from these radio waves, man. These streaming waves, and so it's just like I believe that the type of player he is, we saw him get off to that start last year because he's that guy. He's always gonna have that pressure on himself, and we see it. I think it's the same thing that all of us do, man. That's just what I knew about my granddad. That's what I knew about my pops. That's what I knew about my grandma. And for some reason, I can't shake that either. It's I think what drives us when they talk about kind of what connects you to Detroit, and they talk about going to work and working hard and grit and grind and getting out the mud and persevering and all of that. That's what I believe it is. And Aidan Hutchinson is from here. He's not just adopting that mentality as a player from somewhere else. He's from here. And so he's seen the same thing, too, out of his parents and out of his grand. And I do believe that that's going to go so far. Like, he wants to win. You got a chance to win a Super Bowl with the Lions. I'm just not counting out Aidan Hutchinson at all. And those videos, him running, him cutting, when you talked about the pursuit, when I see the video, that's exactly where my mind went to. And that's what we want out of him, that absolute pursuit. Even if he loses some speed off the line, that pursuit to me is what ultimately makes the difference, because he just doesn't give up.
Yep, and that's why I think Caleb Williams would have been in a world of hurt in particular. And I like Caleb.
You like Caleb.
I like Caleb, but even I understand his limitations. And Dante151 in the chat, and I might need help from others. Was it Did Anson say anything about Hutch? I thought it was more Braylon, but if Anson said it,
in lately,
yeah,
I would know.
Ooh, man.
It wouldn't surprise me if Anson says it.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
but I'm not going to put words into his mouth. But Dante151 is pretty reliable. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say another one. I wanted to ask you, Steve DeYoung. He says he's calling his shot now. Hutchinson wins Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year this coming season.
Wouldn't shock me. Obviously, there's a lot of good defensive players in the NFL, and for all we know, at least in terms of numbers, Nick Bosa could have a bounce back and be more healthy. Max Crosby could have a bounce back and be more healthy. I know he was battling something for a lot of the year, so you never know. But at the end of the day, Aidan Hutchinson, when we look at the odds next year, I bet he'll be amongst the highest, and he should be. I understand there might be some trepidation about his injury, especially when it comes to the mental side of it, because we all know Hutch, it was just an ultimate freak accident, and he didn't really do anything wrong. It was just sort of wrong leg
place,
whip, wrong time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think Hutch has come back from a serious injury before, and I think that he'll come back and at least be full speed very, very quickly.
Hey, we got some super chats to clean up, JB Smooth.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Shout out to everyone sending in super chats once again. $5 from Burn. He said, Hutch put all that pressure on himself to beat Ohio State. He comes back from injuries before. He will be making cuts with his heavy-ass frame. Relax.
Hey, I've been relaxed. I don't think that he's going to have any issues. And I guess Derek Steinberg, Anson said Hutch could be a trade candidate if he gets hurt again. I mean, if he gets seriously injured again, I don't despise that take or anything, but
I don't think they would do it.
I don't either.
No, it just makes him more Brad's tight.
Right.
What are you talking about? You're like,
falling further
Brad's
in love.
Like, man.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that injury. Oh,
Hey.
that leg broke, you say?
You can win Defensive Player of the Year in just 10 games. All right. Cool. Man,
Also,
that's right.
shout out to Dante151. He sent in $4.99.
Shout out.
Wanted to congratulate our college bracket tourney winners. Said shout out to Crazy Kozark, who finished first. Hot Pink MD921, that was a hell of a name, who finished second, and Colin Wood, who finished third, Chase, in the Woodward College bracket tournament. So shout out to all the winners. I have to go back and check and see who won all of them too as well.
No, shout out.
Shout out. Man,
Someone
my
with
bracket
hot
didn't
pink.
do too well. I had Michigan winning it all.
Ooh,
Let's
Gross.
go blue.
Yeah.
I had
Stand on
I
business
had
for my
Duke.
A
team.
little too much slappy there.
but Duke they gagged pretty hard.
I had St. John's, March Women's History Month. I thought the Red Storm would, take charge and power through the month. Their time of the month.
We all ended this sad, and man, Duke really did gag all over themselves. Although,
I actually didn't.
Lionel Cooper flag.
In my opinion, this was actually one of the more least hateable Duke teams. I like Cooper Flag a lot, so I was disappointed in them. But